It's 6 p.m. on Wednesday here in Korea. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Hwang Ji-hye. These are the top stories we're following at this hour as Korea's ruling party and the presidential office meet tomorrow to repair relations. Lawmakers are expected to push for greater amnesty for those convicted of petty crimes during the meeting. It looks like the historic Iranian nuclear deal will not have any major implications for North Korea, as the U.S. State Department says talks will only occur if Pyongyang takes credible steps toward verification. And China's second quarter growth beats forecasts as stimulus measures kick in. The world's second largest economy expands 7% in the April to June period. Let's begin at Korea's presidential office that says it shares the ruling Saenuri Party's hope to mend their ties and to normalize their consultative body. This comes as President Park Geun-hye and the ruling party leadership are set to meet on Thursday. Their relationship had soured over the president's vetoing of revisions to the National Assembly law and the resignation of former party floor leader Yoo Seong-min. During the meeting, President Park is expected to highlight the need for a strong cooperative relationship with the party and urge the party to work with the opposition to pass the post-MERS supplementary budget bill through Parliament. The ruling party leadership, meanwhile, plans to ask the president to include businessmen and politicians when she grants pardons around the time of Korea's Liberation Day next month. The main opposition New Politics Alliance for Democracy is delving into allegations the nation's spy agency wiretapped citizens back in 2012 using a smartphone hacking tool. The liberal camp said Wednesday it set up a commission to investigate the allegations headed by An Chul-soo, a former presidential candidate, and an IT expert specializing in antivirus vaccine software. NIS chief Lee Byung-ho confirmed the purchase made from Italian surveillance malware vendor hacking team at an assembly committee meeting on Tuesday, but said it was made to monitor North Korean spies using South Korean smartphones. Let's listen to what the Liberal Party's chairman Moon Jae-in had to say during Wednesday's Supreme Council meeting.
The intelligence agency's activities turn out to be illegal, we will reform the agency and improve the system so that the public can feel secure about continuing on with their daily lives. In addition, we believe it is desirable for the National Assembly, which has a right to ask the agency to disclose information on this matter, to investigate the allegations. We hope the Saenuri Party agrees to cooperate with the investigation.
Now, Justice Minister Kim Hyun-woong, speaking at a parliamentary judiciary committee meeting on Wednesday, said his ministry will also look into allegations to see whether the prosecution needs to get involved. Meanwhile, the ruling Saenuri Party senior spokesperson Kim Young-woo said the same day that a more prudent approach is needed until all facts are verified, as cyberspace could now pose a major security threat to the nation. The groundbreaking nuclear deal between Iran, the United States, and other major world powers is raising hope North Korea's nuclear issue could also be resolved through dialogue. But Washington says Pyongyang must first take clear and verifiable steps before any talks can be held. Our Han Da-eun has the details.
Soon after striking the historic deal with Iran, the U.S. State Department said Washington is also ready for talks with North Korea on its nuclear issue. But on one condition, Pyongyang first needs to take credible actions that can convince the U.S. that it's serious about abandoning its stockpile of nuclear weapons. South Korea's Yonhap News Agency reports that when asked about what the Iran deal means for North Korea, State Department spokesman John Kirby said it clearly demonstrates Washington's willingness to engage countries with which it has long-standing differences. But he cautioned against a direct comparison, saying Iran has actively engaged in talks for years, whereas North Korea tries to set up talks while continuing to develop its nuclear weapons program. The spokesman reiterated Washington's stance that the U.S. will return to the negotiating table as long as the talks can be authentic and credible, get at the entirety of the North's nuclear program, and result in concrete and irreversible steps toward denuclearization. Kirby also told reporters that Washington is maintaining close contact with South Korea as well as the regional powers, namely China, Japan, and Russia, to resolve the North Korean nuclear issue in a peaceful manner. The so-called six-party talks designed to denuclearize North Korea haven't been held since 2008. 한다은 아리랑 뉴스.
Korea and the U.S. have agreed to come up with comprehensive ways to prevent another shipment of live anthrax to Korea like the one this spring. Seoul's Foreign Ministry said Wednesday that the two allies assessed the organization of a Korea-U.S. joint task force that will look into the accident during their biannual Status of Forces Agreement Joint Committee session earlier in the day. In late April, live anthrax samples were accidentally shipped from a U.S. lab and distributed to the Osan Air Force Base in Korea. Final response measures for the anthrax incident are expected after Washington and the Joint Task Force wrap up their investigation this month. Also on the agenda was the accident at a U.S. shooting range in Gyeonggi-do province in March that injured an area resident and the legal status of the roughly 28,000 American troops stationed in Korea. Shifting gears, new growth figures show that the Chinese economy is rolling along, growing at a faster than expected pace in the second quarter this year. This as the country's stimulus measures kicked in. Shin Se-min tells us more.
China's economy is back on track, growing 7% in the second quarter and beating market expectations that it would drop into the 6% range. The figures still suggest the lowest level of growth since the global financial crisis in 2009, but meets China's target of roughly 7% for this year.
The Chinese government is capable and has the confidence to prevent the regional and systematic risks from happening. It is also capable and has the right conditions and the confidence to promote the stable development of the stock market and the domestic economy.
The country's Statistics Bureau said the second quarter figure was driven in part by better than expected employment figures, but added that further actions would be needed to strengthen the economy. Meanwhile, industrial output jumped 6.8% in June, up 0.7 percentage points from the previous month. The rosier statistics have been attributed to the central bank stimulus policies, which have helped put a floor under the Chinese economy. The central bank has slashed its benchmark rate 4 times since last November as part of efforts to shore up the slowing economy after seeing its quarterly GDP growth drop steadily from 7.8 in 2013. Despite beating expectations, there are lingering concerns about the government's handling of the recent stock market crash that led share prices to tumble over 30% last month. That's given rise to questions about whether President Xi Jinping's so-called China dream of building a rich and powerful nation is merely that, nothing more than an unachievable dream. Shin Se-min, Arirang News.
Now, the MERS outbreak now on the wane is slowing down the number of new hires. Statistics Korea says 26.2 million were employed in June, up by a mere 329,000 from the same period last year. The jobs growth mainly came from the manufacturing sector, while the number of jobs in the agriculture and finance sectors dropped. In particular, the retail, food, and lodging industries took a direct hit from the outbreak as people stayed away from public spaces. Meanwhile, the country's unemployment rate currently stands at 3.9%, up 0.4 percentage points from last year. To keep its lead amid the rising competition in the global market, more Korean shipbuilders are outfitting their vessels with smart functions. To support the charge, Korea has launched a new innovation center in the shipbuilding capital of Ulsan, just north of Busan. 손정인, 송지선 reports.
The new center is aimed at revamping production lines to create ships that are both smart and eco-friendly. The technology for both can now be loaded onto vessels weighing several hundred tons. Korea is seeking to expand innovations like these and turn them into growth engines for the economy while cementing its position in the global shipbuilding industry.
스마트 선박도 2020년까지 시장 규모가 530억 달러로 확대될 예정인 것으로 알고 있습니다. 스마트 선박은 스마트폰과 마찬가지로 다양한 아이디어를 기반으로 한 소프트웨어 개발이 핵심입니다. 울산 센터에서는 현대 중공업이 세계 최초로 개발한 스마트 선박 프로그램 개발 지원 시스템을 전면 개방해서 누구나 자유롭고 쉽게 소프트웨어를 개발할 수 있는 환경을 제공하게 될 것입니다.
Korea built the world's first smart ship in 2011 and has since landed contracts for more than 200 smart ships. The first generation of smart ships could perform simple functions like navigation, monitoring, and control. But the next generation of ships will include the technology for automated shipping, which is already in demand among ship operators because of the potential for reducing operating costs and saving fuel. Korea's three major shipbuilders, Samsung Heavy Industries, Daewoo Shipbuilding and Marine Engineering, and Hyundai Heavy Industries, the latter of which will be in charge of the new Innovation Center, have a combined 2,500 patents for building smart ships like these and more. In conjunction with the Ulsan Center, they plan to share the patents with local startups and small and mid-sized companies seeking to develop similar software. The center will also help turn shipyards into smart yards and help smaller firms enhance efficiency in their production lines through consultations with the large conglomerates. 송지선, Arirang News.
A U.S. spacecraft has sailed past Pluto, sending back remarkable images of the frozen world that sits at the most distant part of our solar system. Scientists hope the data received will shed light on the makeup of our part of the universe. Kim Ji-yeon reports.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
People cheered as NASA's New Horizons spacecraft flew past Pluto, capping this part of its 9.5-year, 5.7 billion kilometer journey on Tuesday. This is an image sent by the spacecraft before its closest approach to the planet, and many more are expected in the coming months.
Well, what we're trying to learn about is, what makes Pluto tick, if you will? How was it formed? Is it still alive? Is it a frozen world? Or does it still have something going on inside under the surface?
The spacecraft passed the most distant reaches of the solar system at the astonishing speed of around 14 kilometers per second. At that speed, it would take an hour to circle the planet Earth, speed that no flying object on Earth can currently match. Scientists hope the voyage will shed new light on the origins of the solar system and parts of the universe beyond Pluto.
How did the solar system form? How did it get to have the geometry that we have that allows there to be an Earth that's as wonderful as the Earth is? But after that, we hope we can send the spacecraft to visit another object way out there in the solar system.
The U.S. is now the only country to have sent a spacecraft to all the planets in the solar system. Pluto was first discovered by American astronomer Clyde Tombaugh in 1930 and was categorized as the solar system's 9th planet. It was downgraded into a dwarf planet in 2006 when international standards of what makes a planet were revised. Kim Ji-yeon, Arirang News.
Arirang TV has signed an exciting new deal with the United Nations to launch a 24-hour channel on the UN in-house network. It becomes the first Korean channel to establish a 5-year partnership with the UN and joins a host of other international news channels like CNN and BBC World. Hwang Sung-hee has the details.
Arirang TV will now reach viewers at the UN headquarters in New York. Arirang TV CEO Bang Seok-ho signed a memorandum of understanding with UN Undersecretary General Christina Galak on Tuesday, announcing the launch of a 24-hour channel on the UN in-house network.
That will enhance the knowledge, the understanding of the Republic of Korea and the region here. The media outlets available through the UN in-house network can be viewed by many staff members, diplomats, visiting government officials. You mentioned about key opinion leaders.
Attending the MOU signing ceremony, South Korean ambassador to the UN, Oh Jun, noted the significance of this historic agreement.
Arirang TV, as Korea's prime English language broadcaster, I'm certain that it will lead the way to enhance communications between the United Nations and the Korean people. And in Korea as well, through this new initiative.
Seoul has been mired in years of historical dispute with Tokyo and has been promoting the importance and benefits of a reunified Korea to the international community. To better introduce Korea's perspective on various issues, Arirang TV will broadcast a mix of news and current affairs program that cater to the UN network. Arirang TV CEO Bang Seok-ho vowed the channel will strive to become the voice of Korea across the globe.
Just like our new slogan, the world on Arirang, we pledge to the bridge that connects Korea and the world through our quality programs.
Arirang TV is the first Korean channel to establish the 5-year partnership with the UN headquarters. Other international news channels available on the UN network include CNN International, BBC World, and Al Jazeera, among others. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon also welcomed Arirang TV to the United Nations, expressing his hopes for the channel to soon play a key role in bridging the gap between Korea and the UN. Hwang Sang-hee, Arirang News, New York. And that brings us to the end of our newscast. We will bring you more updates at 10 p.m. Korea time. Stay tuned. Thank you for watching.